Assalamualaikum and welcome back to Mysterious YouTube channel. So today we will be discussing a case that is very disturbing, so please be advised that the details of this story are intense and graphic, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. Without further ado, let's start with the case. Canny Ong Lay Kian was born on July 18, 1974 in Perak, Malaysia. She was the eldest of her three siblings, so Canny was known for her intelligence, kindness and strong sense of responsibility. She pursued her education in academics in Hawaii, USA, before building a career as an information technology analyst in San Diego, California. So while living and working in the United States of America, Canny met her future husband Brandon Ong in Los Angeles. So the two of them married in 2001 and life seemed to be going well for both of them. But in early 2003, Canny received a devastating news where her father Ong Bi Jang was diagnosed with cancer. And so Canny actually made the decision to fly back to Malaysia with her husband in June 2003 to be with her father. And actually after spending some time together, her father's health improved. And the couple actually planned to return to the United States on June 14. So on June 13, 2003, the day before her flight, Canny had dinner with her family and close friend at Monday restaurant in Bangsar Shopping Centre. And so after the meal, Canny noticed that her mother appeared to be tired, so she actually offered to take her home. She went to retrieve the parking ticket from her car, while her sister and mother waited at the auto pay machine. So after a while, her family became worried when she did not return. They tried calling for her, but the calls went unanswered. After a second call, it went straight to voicemail, so they rushed back to the car park to find her. But the purple proton tiara she had driven was missing. Security footage revealed a man was wearing a white cap and a sling bag, walking towards the car, and moments later the vehicle was gone. This was actually the last time Canny's family saw her alive. At around midnight on June 14, 2003, two policemen patrolling the area came across the missing proton tiara near Kelana Jaya. As they approached the car, they actually noticed Canny inside with an identified man, and when Lance Corporal Subramaniam Ravichandran identified himself and asked to see their identification card, the man actually refused to even let Canny exit the vehicle and even prevented her from speaking to the police officer. Canny, in a moment of desperation, made a subtle hand gestures to the officer, signaling that she needed help. The identified man immediately noticed that and sped off, ignoring the officer's command to stop. And so the police officers decided to fire their weapon at the vehicle, but the unidentified man managed to escape with Canny. So both of the officers did not know that Canny was actually missing. So why did they stop them was because it was midnight, and it was quite suspicious as to why there was a car and there was of course a female and a male. And after seeing what had happened, of course they grew more suspicions, and that is to why they actually requested for both of Canny and the identified man to come out from the car, but the unidentified man decided he was not willing to go out and even prevented Canny from leaving the car, and that is why they become suspicious. And when the unidentified man actually sped off, and that's where the suspicion grew more, and that led to them firing the shots. So later that night, a witness named Aminah Isahak saw the same proton tiara parked along Jalan Sungai Way. The man was actually replacing a punctured tire and seemed to be struggling with it. From her view, Aminah noticed that Canny was still alive and silently signaling for help. Bear in mind that no one knows what was happening. It's still in the same day, and so Amina, feeling quite uneasy, she actually memorized the car's plate number, and after seeing the man struggle with the tire, she and her brother-in-law decided to go straight to the police station, where they reported the incident and the car's plate number in hopes of saving Canny. Fast forward from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., Canny had endured unimaginable horrors. The unidentified man assaulted her under a bridge near Taman Datuk Harun. He then actually stabbed her twice, which ultimately ending her life. And after the murder, the killer actually attempted to dispose Canny's body, and he actually stuffed her into a narrow drain along a highway, weighing it down with 2 cement-filled tires, hoping to hide her from sight. And Canny's car was abandoned nearby, and the killer actually fled with a taxi nearby. And so on June 15, 2003, the killer actually returned to the scene with 2 bottles of petrol. He actually poured the petrol into the drain and set Canny's body on fire, leaving it severely charged. However, his actions did not go unnoticed. A van driver, Azizan Ismail, saw him and initially thought he was just a couple with Canny, and that actually makes him, Azizan, to secretly took Canny's phone from her car and later stole it. He was actually became one of the suspect, but later the charge was changed to something else, as he was not one of the perpetrators that was involved in this case. So he did stole the phone and later sold it, but when being questioned, he actually mentioned that he didn't suspect anything. He was just there to stole it and then stole it for a couple of bucks. This actually makes the police officer to let him go from being one of the suspects. Canny's body was discovered on June 17, 2003 by the construction site manager, and the autopsy revealed she had been strangled before being burned. The police also found traces of cement on her remains, and the investigation soon pointed to Ahmad Najib Aris as the prime suspect. So Najib was arrested on June 20, 2003, and his DNA matched with cement found on Canny's body. He confessed to the murder and led the police officer to various crime scenes, where he explained that he had initially intended to abduct another woman, but he mistakenly took Canny instead. He realized his mistake only when the police officer had approached the car. So Ahmad Najib Aris was charged with the and murder of Canny Ong. The case, of course, shocked the nation, and it was revealed that Najib had been linked to other sexual assault cases, though the victim refused to come forward. Despite the severity of his crimes, Najib chose not to mount a defense in court. And so in February 2005, Najib was convicted and sentenced to death. He spent 11 years on death row, but his appeal for clemency was denied, and on September 23, 2016, Ahmad Najib Aris was executed by hanging. His execution marked the end of a long, painful journey for Canny's family. Canny Ong's tragic murder sparked a significant change in Malaysia. Following the case, lots of shopping malls and public spaces introduced women-only parking areas, equipped with enhanced security features like CCTV cameras and panic buttons, where these measures were a direct response to the horrors Canny endured, aimed at protecting women and preventing similar incidents in the near future. So Canny Ong's story served as a painful reminder of the safety and vigilance, especially for women in public spaces. Her family will never truly fully recover from their loss, but her death became a turning point for a safer environment in Malaysia. This actually marks the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and please stay safe, and remember to always look out for one another.